Her behavior has become self-centered and immature. She has sort of experienced a Cinderella season in the community theater world. She has sudden and new popularity, and quite frankly, it's gone to her head. It's kind of boring to be with her right now. All she talks about is herself. And so this change in her has now caused me to spend some time thinking about what happens to us when people disappoint us. And the reality is everyone will eventually disappoint us in some way. And we discover something about a person. The person we thought was really nice or really kind or really helpful or stable or encouraging isn't really those things anymore. And then we don't quite know what to do with our newfound knowledge about this person. And so I find myself asking questions like, what should my reaction be? Is it my job to tell her that I'm disappointed and encourage her to change her ways? Or is it my job to correct her? Is it my job, in a better way, to endure her issues and to continue loving her anyway? When we are disappointed, we struggle. In the Bible, there is a beautiful, simple verse that serves as an important reminder to us whenever we are struggling. That verse simply says, "In this world, you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world." Now, to me, that verse says, the love of God is greater than all of the trouble in the world. I find that to be incredibly encouraging. When I feel disappointed in people, I can always recall that there is a God who loves me, who will never disappoint me. As we discussed disappointment today, please keep that verse tucked into the back of your mind. The feeling of disappointment seems like it would be one of the minor, kind of lesser emotions that we feel, and that it should be easy for us to quickly move on. But in fact, disappointment is one of the most complex emotions that we experience. According to Sarah Fader, at its core, disappointment is a form of sadness. It's a sadness that creeps in when our expectations for something have not been met. We have an expectation about things. We think an event is going to go a certain way, or a conversation, or a relationship, or a job, and invariably it doesn't go the way we planned it to go. A few years ago, I thought I had found the perfect job. It was with a charter school that was connected to ITT Tech. The school was designed to reach high school juniors and the seniors who had technical interests that couldn't be met in a traditional high school setting. So we started the school year with vim and vigor, and just 3 weeks into the school year, they closed the school. I was so disappointed. I had such plans for that program. I was building relationship with students, and I was shell-shocked by my inability to rationalize that they had closed the school. And then, as we all now know, 1 month later, ITT Tech closed all of their campuses across the nation. What should we do when we encounter a disappointment? Well, here are 3 steps that we can take when we come face to face with disappointment. The first one is very simple. Let it out. Go ahead and feel those feelings. Experience the feelings that you have. The very worst thing we can do is to pretend like everything's okay. Give yourself permission to feel the emotions connected with your disappointment. Remember the baby in the opening video when she couldn't get the thing? I mean, she was feeling the full range of disappointment. So perhaps we don't throw ourselves backwards onto the ground and kick, but we need to give ourselves permission and time to process how we feel. The second step is to know your own heart. Now, this sounds odd, I realize, but when we are disappointed, we often feel like closing up and withdrawing. And we are tempted to not want to trust other people again, and we're tempted to just say, I'm not going to try anything again. Remember who you were before you were disappointed. You're still that person. Nothing has changed in you. You just learned something that is now making you sad. It doesn't mean that all of life is worthless. And the third step is to practice acceptance. Even though we all know, logically, that people are flawed and people are going to make mistakes and that disappointment is just a part of life, we are often not willing to accept the faults of other people. This is just another example of taking the high road. When someone or something disappoints us, we need to figure out, wherever possible, how to have a loving response. The other day, I received some highly disappointing news. We were having an executive team meeting, which, if you aren't familiar with it, is basically the board of this organization. The executive team manages the business part of this church. Well, Monday evening at our executive team meeting, our treasurer gave us an updated financial picture of Entry Point. And I was so disappointed. And I decided that this disappointing information should not be kept from you. So give me just a few moments to share this, and then we'll move on. We are in trouble financially. We've had a terrible first quarter in 2019. As you recall, the weather was horrible every Sunday. Every Sunday we would have a weather event. It would snow, or it would wind 900 miles an hour, or it would rain, or we would have ice. We have fewer people who attend than we did last year, and I'm concerned about our future. I'm concerned about how we're going to pay our bills. We have a great way to do church here. We have a strong base of about 50 people who've been around for a long time. We have people who have heavily invested in this organization with their personal time and their personal talent and their personal money. And we've experienced an incredible amount of selflessness from some of the people sitting here right now. We have people who have faithfully donated to Entry Point over many, many years. We have singers who volunteer their time and talent almost every single week. And we have hospitality team members who come in and serve us and donate coffee and tea and napkins and dish detergent every single week. We have an amazing way to do church. But it is a costly way to do church for just 50 people to support. Nobody wants this to stop. I don't want to lose anyone on this platform or sitting in those chairs. I know that you want this to continue too. Several of you have been shocked in recent weeks when you've looked at the slide during the pre-show that shows how much it costs us to do church each week. Let's take a moment and look at that slide. We are choosing to be transparent with you today so that you have the information sooner than later. We wanted you to know now, while there's time for us to make the adjustments that need to be made. The bottom line is this: we need to either adjust the cost of the way we do church, or we need to increase the amount of money that we get each week, or a little bit of both might be the trick. We can't keep going this way. We're just losing money every week. So now you might be sitting there saying, well, what can I do? I have a whole list of things that all of us can do. Buy a ticket to the fundraiser. Buy one for your friends. Buy one for yourself. Invite your friends to come to the fundraiser. Sponsor the donuts for one of our services. Fulfill the pledge that you made, the promise that you made to Entry Point. Put money in the blue basket on your table. Invite people to come and experience this way that we do church. Look over the information that you're going to be handed today as you leave, and share your ideas with us. We need ideas on how to attract more people to attend so we can grow and get out of financial trouble. Next week, after the service, we're going to have a short meeting so that will allow you to ask questions of us, and it will allow you to to give us some suggestions and ideas. We want your voice. There's an adage that is usually applied to any faith community. We are asked to give of our time, our talent, and our treasures. How are we doing with that here at Entry Point? We will be stronger and sounder if every single person gives at least one of those three things. So now in the life of our faith community, we have a disappointment to process together. How do we do that? Let's apply those 3 steps that I just talked about. First of all, we let it out. We feel our feelings of disappointment. Step 2, we know our own heart. We aren't bad people. We are just in a bad situation. We are a fantastic, loving, gentle community. And we need to add more people to that community. Then we take the 3rd step. We practice acceptance. This is the time to accept the reality of where we are. It's up to every single one of us to make it work. Sometimes in organizations, people will surprise us. People often have the ability to refresh and renew a situation so that disappointment evaporates and things begin to thrive. And that's what I want for us. I want us to thrive, not struggle. I want to plan for the long term. I don't want to plan for just a few months. What we have here together is just too important to lose. I believe there is a light at the end of this tunnel. You know, Marcy used to be a realtor, and she was talking to me the other day about the countless times that she and a client would find a good house, and they would get ready to make the deal, and for some reason it would fold. The buyers would, of course, be hugely disappointed, and then they would dejectedly start all over again to find their next home. And almost every time, Marcy said, a more perfect house was discovered. They found themselves almost glad that the first deal went through. We all know about doors that suddenly close and other doors that suddenly open up when we least expect it. Sometimes in life, we realize that it is not events or people that have disappointed us. It is we who have disappointed other people. Certainly that occurs within families. Parents and kids often disappoint each other. Spouses have moments of suddenly awakening to the realization that they've been selfish or self-serving. In those moments, we apologize. We make adjustments. We do better. We try to find the loving response, even when we disappoint ourselves. We own it, and we move on. And the good news is we don't move on alone. We move on with the strength and love of God right with us. I'm always empowered when I remember that I am not alone. I am loved. And that love from God lifts me higher, and it helps me to live with far greater capacity to love and to give grace. I can overcome the disappointments of this life, even those that I have caused. People are going to disappoint us. We are going to disappoint them. Events and bad news will disappoint us. It's just the way things are. Choose a loving response, and let God's love lift you higher. Eliza Taylor has said, "Disappointment to a noble soul is what cold water is to burning metal. It strengthens, tempers, intensifies, but never destroys it. I'm going to choose to allow disappointment to make me stronger and not break me." I hope you'll join me. Have a great Sunday. Go in peace. Amen.